everyone, this is Pico Entertainment and we are back again, and here now we have a trailer review of Venom, Let There Be Carnage. Now this is the superhero sequel to Sony's movie Venom, which was a retelling of the origin of the alien symbiote bonding together with Eddie Brock and feeding off his intense rage and hatred of Spider-Man. Now when Venom was released, it was a massive box office success in 2018, grossing over 856.1 million worldwide. So it was a major coup for Sony at the time, who was struggling with the Spider-Man franchise and obviously had to share the character with Marvel at the time. So when they were doing a solo Venom movie, most people, like me included, thought it was going to flop. But it managed to be a major success, so this has obviously motivated them to push on with a sequel. And this film has Venom in a much more of a protagonist anti-hero role, and it will see the emergence of yet another iconic Spider-Man villain, which will be Carnage this time, who is the spawn of the Venom symbiote, and it bonds together with serial killer Cletus Cassidy, and then he gets released from Ravencroft prison and then goes on a massive rampage. So that will basically be the plot synopsis for the sequel, and it's directed by Andy Serkis, and it's due for release only in theatres at this point on September the 17th 2021. So going to this trailer, I'm not as excited because I didn't like the Venom movie from 2018. I thought it was very generic, very poorly edited and poorly structured in terms of its narrative and its story, and the execution just wasn't very good either. Tom Hardy really was the only saving grace in that movie as well, so hopefully this can be a massive improvement over the sequel. So we go into this trailer now, and I have to admit the opening scene was quite a funny scene when we see Eddie Brock, who's now obviously getting to accustom himself with being bonded with the Venom symbiote, and he's in the kitchen here, and the Venom symbiote is making his breakfast and trashing the kitchen completely, singing a song to the radio whilst doing it, spilling ketchup all over him. This was quite a funny scene, I will admit. So will they begin the movie story with that, where we see both Eddie still struggling to get to grips with handling the Venom symbiote overall? And that was quite an interesting dynamic that they did put forward in the first film, where it's much more of a back and forth between the two rather than Eddie having more complete control over the symbiote. So maybe we will get that part of element within the first maybe hour of the movie, where Eddie's really getting to all sorts of difficult shenanigans, trying to struggle with this symbiote overhaul. One thing I did notice about when he walks into the store, and Mrs. Chen, who we remember I believe was getting picked on by thugs in the first movie in terms of her store, she says hello to Eddie, and then she says hello to Venom as well. So what will that entail? Does she know about the symbiote? We see later on in the trailer where Eddie has been basically protecting her, I guess, from other thugs and bank robbers as well. So maybe she overhears him talking to Venom, and maybe he has to explain why he's talking to Venom, and that's where she's saying hello to him when he walks into the store. So that will be interesting to see, because you would have thought that Eddie would have tried to keep the Venom symbiote secret, right? Not keep it out in the open. So where they will take that, we will find out. We see the return of Michelle Williams as well in that quick scene that are built on the supposed love story between the two. And then we get the emergence of Woody Harrelson as Cletus Cassidy. If you remember, he made a quick appearance in the end credits of the first movie. I think that'll be a good pick for this role. I think Woody Harrelson's going to be a very, let's say, memorable performance at the very least. And we get this kind of jokey type of music. I didn't like it. I wish they went for something a bit more intense, a bit more scary, a bit more darker, but we followed the similar trajectory that we saw in a comic book's origin, where he is a mass murderer and he's at Ravencroft prison, and he's seemingly going to be killed by lethal injection. We see that scene where he's trapped with all the harnesses there, and all the people are waiting to see he's executed, and then we see the blood transfused into him. And this is very similar to the comics, where I believe he cut his hand, and then that's how the Carnage symbiote bonded with him. So in this scene here, we get a spectacular moment when he breaks out essentially and explodes from the lethal injection chamber, and then we see the Ravencroft Asylum going on fire, and then we see shots of him going ahead on Carnage. And another notable moment was when we see Naomi Harris's character, who I read on here will be playing Shriek. Now, she was the major female ally of Carnage and love interest in the iconic Maximum Carnage Spider-Man story from the early 90s. It'll be interesting to see how much elements do they adapt. Of course, they won't have Spider-Man here, but how much will they be able to adapt from the Maximum Carnage? Will it just be Carnage and Shriek causing damage on their own? Will they try to go for a much more of a sympathetic love story where essentially Shriek is working with Carnage in the beginning, but she might try to take him back or stop him from causing all this mayhem in the streets? So how will they take that approach? But we get to the Carnage reveal, and to be honest, I'm a bit mixed on it. It looked very explosive, very freaky, as what Carnage should be, but the effects just doesn't look finished. It's very blurry. Maybe they didn't want to show too much overall. We did get a second shot where he looks like he's in a bit of a church, and we see much more of a full frontal shot. I think there's a bit too much going on in terms of his design. It looks a bit too distorted, a bit too scattershot. Yes, we all know it's typical of the symbiote to be able to generate knives and sharp objects and blades and have this really more liquidated form, even more so than Venom. But I don't know, it just looks a bit too separated, a bit too segmented, I think. I just wanted to have a bit more of a threatening and imposing feel towards it. So they've still got some time, I guess, to make a few touch-ups in terms of the rendering and the effects overall, but it was alright. It was alright, I think, the effects overall for the first appearance of Carnage. I mean, maybe it's quite a good thing that they don't show too much, because I'm pretty sure when we get to the movie, we're going to get lots of big fight set pieces between both Venom and Carnage as well. And how far will they push Carnage in terms of the serial killer aspect as well? So it'll be interesting to see if they delve much more into the psychological effects of Cletus and Carnage, just like they did with Venom and Eddie in the first film overall. So, quick impressions, okay, I suppose. Again, I'm just maybe holding back because I didn't like the first movie, and this seems to have really followed in the same tone as the first movie as well. So maybe I'm not super hyped, but I'm pretty sure if you were a fan of the first movie and if you're a fan of Carnage as a villain, then you will probably be very excited as well as to what we see within this movie. So yes, due for release on September the 17th 2021. I'm pretty sure we will get a second trailer within the next 2 to 3 months as well. Hopefully that can give us, or give me rather, more to get excited about than this first trailer overall. So those are my thoughts and feelings on Venom Let There Be Carnage trailer. Let me know what you think in the comments below. How excited are you for this? Do you think it'll be superior to the first film, or do you think it'll be inferior? Do you still think it's a bit of a shame that we can't have Spider-Man integrated, or a Spider-Man film with both Venom and Carnage? I mean, that was really the disappointing aspect when Sony decided to move ahead with the Venom movie, because I think that would have been incredible if you could somehow have the MCU Spider-Man and Venom together as a villain, and then later on you could have had a Maximum Carnage storyline. Perhaps maybe that could have been an Avengers movie where you have Maximum Carnage breaking out all these super villains everywhere, then maybe Spider-Man having to lead the next stage of the Avengers to combat him. It's a shame we won't get that story dynamic overall, because I think that could have been hugely successful and have massive potential. But there we go, there's my thoughts on Venom Let There Be Carnage. Let me know what you think in the comments below. That's it for now. Stay at safe distances, and I will see you very, very soon.